Hey everybody, how's it going? Marcos Villegas being joined now with Lucas Prince Bahdi, a 9-0 prospect with 9 knockouts to his record, and we're going ahead and introducing you to him over here on Fight Up. Lucas, man, good to see you. Good to e-meet. I know right now a lot of you boxers aren't really active because of what's going on, but how have you been doing with all this free time?
I've been good. Thanks for having me. I'm just trying to stay busy, trying to stay active. There's no shows going on right now. I was on a busy fight streak since I've turned pro. 9 fights in 9 months, and now we're at a dead standstill. So I'm just doing what I can to keep the weight where it's got to be and stay in shape.
Are you having to do your workouts at home, or are you still able to kind of like go outside away from people and run?
Yeah, I do the trails, I do hills, shadow boxing, running at night. I mean, I don't really have access to a bag right now. I'm trying to look for one right now. I don't have one at my house just because I never liked training at my house. The atmosphere wasn't there. But times like this, you wish you had it.
Now, with this whole thing that's happening with COVID-19, you're obviously a professional fighter. You rely on fighting to make a living. Has this been particularly difficult for you, seeing that you're not like at a Canelo Alvarez level yet in terms of like marquee name and those paydays? Has this been a challenging times for you with this happening?
100%. I mean, there's tons and tons of people that are affected by this financially. Nobody's working. A lot of people aren't working unless you're, I guess, essential now. But yeah, 100%. You got no income coming in, and you don't know how long this is going to go on for. So you're trying to plan ahead of time, right? People aren't spending their money, doing whatever they got to do. But man, I just hope it settles down quick, and we get back to normal in the next month or so.
Are you good, or are you starting to stress out a little bit?
I mean, I don't really stress. I don't. I mean, when it all started, everyone was panicking, and at the time, I was in Mexico, and I didn't really care. I was like, I'll stay here, right? But no, I don't. I don't panic. I don't stress. I just go with the flow. I mean, try to make things work as I go on. But yeah, as far as panicking, stressing out, no, that's not me.
So you live in Canada, correct? In the Niagara Falls area, from what I read.
Yeah, yeah. I'm born and raised in Niagara Falls. This is my hometown. I'm trying to bring the boxing here. There's a mini Vegas over here, and we got a lot of good fighters in Canada. Not a lot of them are big names. They don't get the recognition that they should, but I'm gonna try to bring that here in Niagara Falls.
How is like the boxing scene over in Canada? Because yeah, when you think of Canada, you think other sports, primarily hockey. To some extent, I know MMA is really big in Canada, but overall, describe like Canada's boxing scene for me.
You know what? It's good. There's a lot of good talent here. Um, we just don't have as many shows as you guys do in the States. So, all the big shows are obviously in New York, Vegas, wherever, California. Um, and a lot of the fighters here don't get the opportunity to fight out there. So, like I said, they don't get the recognition that they should. I mean, you got a couple places here like Montreal where they have big fights, but I mean, that's why me and Phil are working on bringing it to Niagara Falls. We want to show the world what Canada has to offer, what I have to offer, and do it right here in my hometown.
How's the training up there? Like, are you having to like leave to come here to get like sparring and like the level of training? How is it over there back home?
Well, me personally, I try to get a variety of sparring. I go wherever I can. I go to Toronto. I go to Montreal. I go just over to, like, I live right by the border, so I go right over to Buffalo, wherever I can. So, sometimes I even travel to Vegas, wherever I can to get the sparring. I mean, because sparring's very important for a top level boxer. So as far as me, I go wherever the sparring is. Um, it's not the greatest here. Like I said, that's why I move around. That's why I get it where I can. But it's good for keeping in shape and staying sharp.
Are people as big of fans of boxing over there in Canada as like MMA and hockey? Like, how is it perceived by the public over there?
You know what? It's growing. Like there's a lot more shows. You know, there's it's growing with the amount of boxers. The amateur scene's growing. So I think I think that people want to see it more, but the promoters aren't willing to put out the money, you know, because it's expensive throwing these shows. You know, Niagara's a hidden gem. We're just trying to show the world what we're gonna do here. You know, I mean, I plan on fighting in the States too. Don't get me wrong. Probably my 11th fight. My next fight here is gonna be here in my hometown for a regional belt. But it's gonna, you know, I'm trying to get ranked in an organization right now. I'm not. So once I get my ranking top 15, top 10, then I'm gonna head over to the States, and from there I'm gonna bring it back to my hometown, Niagara Falls.
Yeah, no, I was looking at your record. You know, 9-0, 9 KOs. You got a tremendous amount of power for 135 pounds. You know, your background. You're what, multiple time Canadian champion, right?
Yeah.
Amateurs.
Yeah. So I've been on the national. I was on the national team for 4 or 5 years. I traveled the world, fought the best in the world, fought at international level. You know, many times. You know, people are saying, well, how come you didn't go to the Olympics? Well, 2016, I was the Canadian champ. I was the man in Canada. And you know what? They screwed me. I was the number 1 seed for 15, 16, and I didn't get a chance to go to the Olympic trials, like the qualifiers. And, you know, I was planning on sticking it out for 2020. And, you know, it was around December 2019. No, sorry, December 2018 is when my mind kind of changed to go professional. And basically at the time it was, you know, they took out my weight division, 60 kilograms, 132 pounds. And there was a lot of talk going on saying boxing might not be in the 2020 Olympic Games because of all the corruption. And I just had a bad feeling inside. I just thought, you know what? I think it's time. You know, I didn't tell anyone my plan. I literally just packed up. I was living in Montreal at actually the national team center, centralized with the national team for quite some time. And I just literally packed the U-Haul overnight. I head back home to my hometown. And at the time, I was shopping around promoters, and all the local promoters wanted to sign me. But, you know, I thought in my head, these guys can't do it for me. They don't have what I need, what I'm capable of. So I figured, you know, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to get recognized, and I'm going to go to the States. And I had this in my mind this whole time. And, you know, that's why I'm not well known right now in the States, is because I only turned pro 9-10 months ago. And the amateurs were not talked about here in Canada. When was the last time you heard about a Canadian amateur?
Lennox Lewis is the last one I really heard about.
You don't hear about him.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm under the radar, is because, one, we're not talked about in the amateurs, and two, I did it myself from my pro debut to my 8th fight. I've only had 1 fight here with Phil, and I was down in Mexico. And now me and Phil are starting to take things off. We're trying to, you know, set things off. We came out hot as soon as he signed me. You know, I was getting a lot of interviews, and a lot of people were starting to hear about me. But now they want to see me fight. So that's why we decided to fight for a regional belt, my next fight, where I'm going to fight a game fighter. And it's going to be a test for me. And people are going to see. They're going to say, okay, this guy can fight, or no, this guy can't fight. And me, I'm willing to fight the best. I mean, I fought the best in the amateurs. Why not fight the best in the pros? I was knocking people out in the amateurs with amateur gloves. when you put an 8-ounce glove on, it changes your whole perspective while you're in there. You don't want to get hit with a little glove like that,
No.
especially from a puncher. But
You mentioned something happened where they screwed you from your Olympic shot. What happened?
you know, the national team is based out of one province in Canada, and it's Quebec. And at the time, there was another Quebec fighter that was the B team in my weight division, and he ended up going to the Olympic trials over me, even though he got a bronze medal at the national championships. And the guy that beat him, I fought in the finals, and I absolutely smoked him, dropped him hard in the second round, and then he was just survival mode for the third round. But it was just, they called me like 2 weeks before the trials to tell me, and their excuse was, you know what, you don't have the experience he does, because he was in his 30s, in his early 30s, and I was 22 years old at the time. I said, why does that matter at this point? I'm beating everybody. They didn't give me an explanation. It was like so late in the game to actually do something to bring them to court. Like I said, they waited till last minute on purpose so they could screw me.
Why do you think they did that, in your opinion?
They try to keep everything in their own province. So the national executive high performance director, he was also the national team coach. And he's got this little monopoly going on where he builds these guys and then gets them Olympic backgrounds, gets them whatever, you know, a high amateur pedigree, and then he turns them pro. You know, he did it with one of my buddies, actually. I don't want to mention any names, but you know, it was just a whole scheme that he had going on, and it's still going on. Actually, it's still going on, and I'm just not a fan of that. You know, I'm not a politician. I came to fight, so that's why I turned pro before the Olympics. And you know, I'm glad I did, because look what's going on now. There's no 2020 Olympics. It's gonna be 2021. You know, I'm in my mid-20s now. Don't want to be sticking around too long if because I had my mind on the pros. I didn't want to be, you know, going into the pros as a late 20. So I'm glad I did what I did. You know, I feel I was robbed of an Olympic medal. I was so confident. I was ready. I was in my prime, but you know, it is what it is.
Now, you know, you mentioned that your son with Phil. Phil, you know, was a pro himself. How did you guys go ahead and like connect with with each other?
Well, Phil's from Niagara Falls, and you know, we've been talking for years. I know him. I known him since the first day I walked in the gym.
Has he been the same since then to now? Because Phil's a funny guy. He cracks me up.
Phil hasn't changed. He's a beauty. Everyone loves him.
Yeah, he is a comedian. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know him as well when I first started boxing, just because he was in the States training and fighting, and at the time I was just a kid. But
how old were you?
When I first started, I was 14.
Yeah, and then when you met Phil, you were 14?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And for you guys watching, we're referencing Phil Greco, professional fighter who fought to welterweight in many different divisions also.
Yeah, so like I said, I've known Phil for such a long time. He's from my hometown. And when I was in the amateurs, I was telling him my plan. I was telling him I'm sticking around for 2020. And he said, don't do it. They're going to bully you out. They're going to bully you out, you know. And at the time, I didn't listen to him. I was like, no. I got my mind on it. I'm going to knock all these guys out. In Canada, nobody, and the 60 kilogram, nobody could touch me. I was absolutely killing everybody. And like I said, they took out my division, and then all that stuff with the Olympics not happening, you know, I changed my mind. But yeah, me and Phil were talking for a couple of years, since 2018. And you know what? At first I was like, you know, I'm gonna do it myself, and then just go straight to the US promoters. But I said, all right, you got to know somebody to get in. And Phil at the time was, we were training together, we were sparring together, and he said, man, like, I could really help you. And then when I came to think about it, I said, you know what, this guy, he's been there, he's done that. I could trust him, and everything just fell into place. So I signed with him, and now we're taking off.
No, he's gonna help you out a lot. Phil knows a lot of people, and what I always liked about Phil was his showmanship. Um, entertaining. Like when you would do interviews with them or like go at press conferences, you knew something would happen.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. You know, he's got that that how could I say it? That excitement to his personality. You know, everything's exciting to him. He's always happy. He's always got a smile on his face. So he's good, positive energy to be around.
You grew up in Canada, Niagara Falls, but what's your background? Like, where are your parents from and all that?
My mom's got an Italian background,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad's Middle Eastern. He's from Palestine.
Okay, all right. I would imagine like Prince, your nickname, is it an homage to Prince Nassim, or it's just something you kind of liked yourself outside of that?
No, I was given this name as an amateur. I mean, I love Prince Nazim as a fighter. He was amazing. He was one of my favorites. I love watching him. You know, I take a lot of things from him. But this name was just a fluke given to me as an amateur, probably in my 10th fight, believe it or not, when I was 16 years old.
How did it happen?
I literally it was a fluke. I walked in the ring, and the announcer at the time, his name was Brian Mackey. He's a coach in Ontario, and he's just a really great guy, funny guy. And he announced me as the Prince. I guess he just made it up on the spot. I don't know where he came up with it, but it stuck since then. It stuck in the gym, and then it just led on to bigger things.
Now, what did your parents think about you doing boxing? And like, how were they? Because I would imagine you have an Italian mother, and a Palestinian father. I have a very close friend of mine who parents are from Palestine, and he tells me they're very strict with him, especially about like his career choices. When he chose to be an animator, like he got a lot of flack from his dad because his dad wanted him to be a doctor. How was it for you when you're like, hey, I'm gonna be a boxer?
You know, I was always an athlete. I played hockey, high level. I played soccer, high level. When I first started, I wanted to start boxing when I was a kid, when I was 10 years old, but I didn't get the opportunity to go to the gym until I was 14. I was always begging my dad, bring me to the gym, bring me to the boxing gym. I want to learn how to fight. I was always just that frisky kid. I always had that like fight in me. You know, I was born a fighter. And he finally took me when I was 14. And at first, my mom didn't think I was going to fight. She thought I was just going to train. And I lined up my coach lined up my first fight. And my mom didn't come. She was scared. But I was on a winning streak. I was just kept winning and winning and winning and winning. And it just grew on her, I guess. And my dad loved it. My dad loved it. He loved watching me fight, and he still does. But yeah, like I said, it grew on my mom eventually because I wasn't getting hurt. I wasn't getting beat up. I was winning and winning and winning. And now she enjoys it. She enjoys it. I mean, she doesn't like seeing people get hurt, seeing people get knocked out, but it's part of the sport. So
Yeah, and you knock people out. I saw some of your knockouts in the last few fights you had, man. And one where you're just timing the guy and you hit him with an overhand, and I was just like, I saw you like kind of like putting all your weight down, and I'm like, oh, he's loading up for a big shot, and then like a few seconds later you landed it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a puncher in both hands, and timing is one of my greatest attributes. And that's why I call out these big names. Like I call out Lomachenko. I call these guys out. Any world champion at lightweight. People say, well, you only got 9 fights. You only been pro 1 year. okay, well, I fought at the same international level they did as an amateur. You got Teofimo Lopez, for example. He was calling out Lomachenko with under 10 fights. Everyone thought he was crazy at the time. Now he's world champion. Now people say, okay, who's going to win that fight? It's up in the air. Why? Because he's got one punch knockout power. When you got that power, this is boxing. It's 12 rounds. You could get knocked out at any given moment, So it is what it is. I think I got what it takes to beat these guys. And I know my coach does. I know everyone that I spar with does. So it's going to come a point in time where I do step in the ring with them. And I'm full of confidence. So
9-0, 9 knockouts. Like your plans, obviously, world championship. That's a plan of every fighter that's coming up. But at lightweight, do you see yourself being at lightweight for much longer? Do you think lightweight's like the weight division that you could stay for a really long time, or you do have plans of moving up to multiple divisions?
I mean, eventually, yeah, moving up. As you get older, it's harder on the body. So I still got a couple more years definitely at lightweight. And then from there, we'll go 140.
What do you make of all the current lightweights, the young guys that are your age group that are making a lot of noise, and some of which are winning titles, like Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo, like you mentioned, Devin Haney, you got Ryan Garcia out there as well, Rolly, Romero. What do you make of all these guys? Because they're in and around your division, and they're all making a lot of noise.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember these guys from the amateurs. I fought at the same tournaments as guys like Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez. So that's why I place myself in the same bracket. I'm right there with them. I got one punch knockout power. I can knock these guys out at any hour. And when you got that at the back of your head, that you could end a fight with one punch. Left hand, right hand, doesn't matter. It's all about timing. It's all about placement.
How would you rate all those guys? Did you face any of them in the amateurs by chance?
I never did. I never really fought many Americans. I mean, the ones that I did weren't national team. Yeah, I never fought any national team members from America.
It's just the way it was set up, like tournament-wise, like bracket-wise?
Yeah. I mean, actually, I fought one guy. He was fighting for Mexico, Lindolfo.
Oh, yeah. Delgado. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a really close decision with him. I thought it went my way, but they gave him a 2-1. But that's the only big name, I guess, in the States I fought in the amateurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lindolfo fought a lot of guys. I think him and Carlos Balderas, who I spoke to the other day, fought too. I think they fought like twice.
Yeah, he beat Carlos.
Yeah.
At the Pan Ams. Yeah, I remember those fights. Well, he's got a ton of amateur experience too, so.
Yeah, that's true, man. You're like, what's your ultimate goal? You would say at this point for you.
At this point in time, I want to get in the mix as soon as possible. That world-class mix where I mentioned with the names like Teofimo Lopez, Lomachenko, Devin Haney, Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. I want to be in that mix. I want to do it this year, but, we don't know what's going on with this virus. So hopefully this year, maybe next year for sure, guaranteed.
Next year, you think, or even this year, how soon are you going to make your way over to the States, you think, for fights?
Well, if things settle down sooner than later, this year for sure. For sure. Like I said, I want to have my 10th fight here in the Falls for a title, 135 title, and then I'll be in the States my next fight. Phil's talking to all the big promoters, so they all know me now. And we're going to, pick the best one that's best for my career. You got Top Rank, who's got Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. You got Eddie Hearn, who's got Devin Haney. You got Golden Boy, who's got Ryan Garcia, and Mayweather Promotions, who's got Tank Davis.
Now, given that we're all in quarantine right now, what have you been watching? Have you been watching a lot of TV, a lot of Netflix? What's on your like top list of movies you've watched so far?
You know what? I watched that Tiger King.
Oh, you watched? I haven't watched it yet, man, but I hear it's nuts.
Oh, you gotta watch it. Yeah,
Yeah?
I liked it. Yeah, it was funny. It was really entertaining.
I keep hearing.
I don't want to spoil it.
Well, I've already gotten spoilers. I keep hearing the wife snuffed him out. That everyone thinks the wife snuffed him out. I have no idea what people are referencing to, but I keep seeing Carol killed her husband. So now I gotta go watch it because I don't even know who the husband is. You think she did it too?
I'm not gonna say nothing. Just watch it tonight because it's a good time.
I'm gonna watch it for sure. Hey, Luke, man, good chatting with you, bro. Good getting to know you. Let everybody know where they can go ahead and follow you online.
All my social media is at Prince Bahdi. My last name spelled right here, actually. Bahdi. Prince Bahdi, at Prince Bahdi.
Good stuff, man. Hey, Lucas, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. You guys go ahead and give him a follow as well. And we're going to keep an eye on your career, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it, brother.
Yo, you. Yes, you. Thank you so much for watching this video. And make sure to subscribe for more videos of your favorite fighters over here on Fight Up TV. And give us a follow online as well at Fight Up TV on Twitter and on Instagram. We appreciate it, guys.